I was surprised last year when I saw the results in the State of Technical SEO report. There was a question about SEO testing, and 40% of in-house SEOs said that they were doing some kind of SEO testing to measure the impact of the technical changes they make. I found that really interesting because as someone that talks to a lot of in-house SEOs, that's not been my experience. I found that actually very few teams are doing SEO testing, at least in the way that SearchPilot thinks of it. So where's the disconnect? I realized it's because of the ambiguity in the language that we use to talk about SEO testing. Not all SEO tests are equal, so I thought it'd be worthwhile talking through some of the different kinds of tests that you can do and going through the strengths and weaknesses of each of them. This can be thought of as a hierarchy of evidence. At the bottom, we have things like hunches, which are unproven ideas. And at the very top, we have randomized controlled trials, the type that you can do with SearchPilot. And that's where the disconnect lies in my experience. Most teams are somewhere between best practice and uncontrolled experiments. These would be examples of things like before and after testing, where you make a change to a page or a group of pages and measure the impact on traffic from before the change was made until after the change was made. So for instance, in this example here, you can see that you make a change. You then look at your traffic after that change has been applied. And in this instance, you can see that traffic actually falls below the previous level of traffic. Now, you might think this is because it's been a bad change that you've made. But what if I told you that there was a Google update here or that it was actually Thanksgiving? This is why it can be difficult to unpick when you're not doing controlled experiments. You can't really take into account external factors like Google updates, seasonality, and that kind of thing. Another kind of testing is cross-sectional studies. So this is one that was published recently by Cyrus Shepherd from Zippy. And if you haven't seen this already, I highly recommend it. Cyrus done a ton of great work looking at 50 different websites, lots of different data points to understand if there's any correlation between sites that have done well on recent Google updates and not so well. But crucially, Cyrus himself says that correlation does not imply causation here. While we can say that some of these items have a correlation between websites that have done well in recent updates, we don't know whether or not it is that particular thing that has caused those websites to do well or not so well. And so while cross-sectional studies like this one could be a great source of ideas and things to go on and do further testing on, they unfortunately can't be used to understand causality, only correlation. So how does SearchPilot do this? In SearchPilot, we do the randomized controlled experiments. That means we take a population of pages and then we randomly assign pages as either a control page or a variant page, and that results in two buckets of pages which are statistically similar to each other. That means we can hopefully take into account external factors like seasonality, Google updates, competitor performance, etc., and see statistically significant results that we can trust and that actually do prove causality as opposed to just looking at correlation studies. If you're interested in finding out more about this, we have a couple of great resources on the SearchPilot website. The first one here on the left is by my colleague Sam Nemzer, who's written on the hierarchy of evidence for digital marketing. And then the one on the right is one that I've just published in the last couple of weeks that builds on this test and goes into each of the different levels of this hierarchy and explains some of the test styles, the strengths and weaknesses of each within each of those levels. So hopefully you found this useful. If you would like to find out more, please reach out and check out those resources I mentioned. Thanks.